transmitting to you signals that are going to surprise and delight you and keep you living happily ever, ever after. But you just have to get in the vicinity of it so they start occurring to you. So here's the question. Was it our thought that you received, or was it your thought that we received? So when you say, I want cars, or I want everything, and you say, how? Just change that one question to why. Because the why will hold you in the momentum of your desire longer. The how, almost every time, will take you out of it. Whenever you ask yourself for an answer that you don't have, you lose your connection. But when you ask a question that leads you further in the momentum of your desire, it allows the momentum of the desire to go further. Did you hear that? Think about it. This matters. We've been talking all day about you being in the receptive mode. We've been talking about this vortex that has all the things in it that you've been putting there, and our ability to be in there, to see it, to know it, to understand it. And we are projecting a signal that is so powerful. Who's in the receptive mode? You are. You are. Even when you want something, that means you're in the receptive mode. For a desire to even occur to you, you're in the receptive mode. You just got to run with it and not kill it with your doubt. You got to say, I got an idea. That means I'm in the receptive mode, and that means it can be a reality. It can be a see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it manifestation. It can be. It can be all of that because I want it. I received it. Where do you think your desires come from? Because you're in the receptive mode. We just want you to stay there, which was what your brilliant question was about. How can I stay there longer? How can I stay in the receptive mode longer? Momentum happens because you give your attention to something. You give your attention to something, and then something manifests, and then you give your attention to something, and something manifests, and you give your attention to something, and something manifests. You have it so good because you're out here on the manifesting edge. You're out here on the edge where whatever you've got going on is showing itself to you moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. You have no excuse to be oblivious about what your vibrational countenance is, because the things that are manifesting around you are evidence of what it is. There's two ways to know what you've got going on vibrationally and how law of attraction is responding to it. The first way is it's manifesting. The second way is you can feel it. We'd like the second way to be the first way. You can feel it. So the reason that we are talking about the rumble strips is because if you are aware of the way you feel, and you sort of kind of like that feeling, so you focus there, it will become more and more and more and more and more. You could take any thought of minor importance, and you could focus on it and bring it to a place of momentous importance, and it would manifest in this day. Every single one of you could do that with anything that is important to you. This is the power of the universe that you've got working with you. This is the power of the focus of source energy that you've got working with you. You have tools at your fingertips. You have the energy that creates worlds flowing through you, you see. You can be or do or have anything, but you've got to break it down in some way that you know that you are doing it. So we would suggest that you pick something. That you pick something that is of some importance to you, and you decide that you're going to focus on it until you can show yourself in one day. You can show yourself how the momentum gathers around that subject in one day. From the point of just being able to talk about it, to the point of feeling fairly good feeling emotion about it, to the point of really feeling excitement about it, to the point of it manifesting in one day. You can do that. You can do that. And you do it all the time. That's what's so funny about this conversation. You do those things all the time. You just don't know that you're doing them. And so you don't give yourself the credit of focus that you deserve to give yourself the credit of focus.
So what we're wanting you to hear is it does not matter where you stand. You can get to wherever you want to be from wherever you are. And we also want to say to you, don't be in such a rush to get there all at once. Be willing to take a step and then another step and then another step and then another step. Because the thing that defeats you more than all other things put together is trying to log onto a vibration that's out of your range right now. In other words, pull up your feet and move closer to the signal. make a decision that's nothing is more important than that you feel good, and then work all day, every day to find the best feeling thought on any subject that you approach that does feel good. Someone was asking us a question the other day about whether they should hire someone or whether they should not. And they were sort of going back and forth about whether it was a good idea. There were aspects of it that felt good and some aspects of it that did not feel so good. And as we listened, we said, pay attention to which way you're leaning. Well, there was no question which way they were leaning. They could really feel that they were leaning toward making the decision to say yes. And then we said, now you have made that decision, now line up with the decision. Line up with the decision. And so we offered a whole stream of things that we thought were very reasonable components that made them easily line up with the decision. And then we said, now, your energy is in place. Now, never again go back and question that decision. Don't go back and put it back on the table where you're weighing the pros and the cons anymore. Don't shoot yourself in the foot about this decision. You've lined up with a decision. Let that decision be your decision. And you say, oh, I know people like that. They're stubborn. And we say, yes, they are. They are determined, you say. Ooh, determined. What does that mean? Determined. Cannot deter my mind? Is that what determined means? Is that the root of it? In other words, I'm determined. I've decided. I'm in alignment with, you see. Once you come into alignment with something, nobody else's opinion has anything to do with anything, because the only thing that matters is your relationship between you and the stream, between the desire that you have fashioned and the signal that you are outputting moment by moment. So when you are having trouble making your mind up about something, figure out which way you lean. In most cases, it doesn't really matter a rip. You could go with almost anyone and live happily ever after. Well, we understand that you have reasons for your pickiness, but you know which way you're leaning. And so lean that way and then line up with it and then watch what happens. And continue to say to yourself, I am temporarily standing everywhere that I'm standing. So when I get there, since I can't get it wrong and I never get it done, and the reason that I can't get it wrong is because I never get it done. In other words, you can't get it done. You're going to continually have a whole new other barrage of input that's going to cause you to launch another rocket of desire. You constantly amend your desires. And source energy constantly keeps up with the amendments. So are we convincing you yet that your work, your only work, is to line up with what you think you want? So why don't you do that? Why doesn't everyone? Why is that not easy for you to hear? We'll tell you. It's because the questions we ask are always the easiest to answer. We know the answer before we ask the question. But then we know the answer before you ask the question, too. The reason that more don't know that is because you're not sure that you have the right or the wisdom to choose. You think somebody else has made the list and that you've got to conform to the list. And what you didn't factor in is they made that list about what you should do so that they'd feel better. And it's time for you to make your list about what you should do so that you can feel better. You are an extension of that which is source. Some call it God, some call it energy, some call it consciousness. It does not matter what you call it. You will never be apart from it. It will always flow to you and through you. But you have powerful control about how much of it you let in any moment in time and how much of it you deprive yourself of. And when you let it in, you thrive. When you let it in, you're clear-minded, you're sure-footed, you feel good, life is wonderful, you breathe deeply, everything feels good. Everywhere you go, you find things that are interesting, fascinating, provocative, good feeling. And when you are not allowing your connection to the stream, you feel defensive, you feel afraid. You feel unsure, you feel unworthy, you feel anger, you feel depressed, you feel overwhelmed, you feel frustrated. There's a myriad of emotions all up and down this emotional scale. This glorious guidance system within you, letting you know in every moment how well connected to your link spot in the sky you are.
So, we're going to make a very strong statement. You can't get there from there. Now, stay with us. You can't get there from there. You can't get to a manifestation of something that you've got lots of resistance to. You can't get there from there. Just stay with us for a minute, because it's not like the things we usually say to you, because we usually say you can be or do or have anything, but we're saying this to you because we want you to sharpen your skills of creation, because you're ready to do that. You can't get there from there. What do you mean, Abraham? You can't get to that manifestation that you want given the vibration that you're offering. Oh. So what's off in the vibration that I'm offering? You've got too much resistance for that to unfold easily. Well, what do I do about the resistance? Should I work harder? Should I think about it more? No, that will make the resistance more. What should I do? Get off the subject. Get off the subject. That will make the resistance less. You see, if you get it, and we're going to ask you if you do you believe that your vortex exists? Do you believe that there's a vibrational version already queued up for you? Do you believe that universal forces are arranging circumstances and events, and that the cooperative components are all lined up for you? So if you believe that, then what is the piece that you've got to do? You've got to allow it. You've got to get yourself in the receiving mode, which means you got to be happy anyway. You got to be lighter about it. Well, how do you be light about something that you're heavy about? Don't think about it for a while, and it will dissipate. And then next time you think about it in more general terms. It's like the movie that our friend was talking about. You have to reestablish your own communication between you and your inner being. And your inner being is not speaking to you in words. We sort of distort that when we're talking to you with all of these words. In fact, sometimes the words are so much it's like a hair blowing back experience for you. You'd be better off not even listening to all of these words. Your inner being is not speaking to you in words. Your inner being is offering blocks of thought, which you are translating into impulses, into memories, into thoughts, you see.